Greetings, everyone, to our Thursday, April 20 Climate Solutions Caucus meeting. So today we're going to be hearing from some senators with updates as to some of the bills that we sent to them, in particular the T bill and also H687, which was our Reforming Act 250 bill, and then in Senate Natural. They took quite a bit of the language from Senate Economic Development that had housing and brought that into H687. So we'll hear an update on that. With the senators not here yet, we're going to give some updates on what's going on the House side of things. And then at the tail end at 12:40, we're going to have a quick just overview, not a full walkthrough of this very cool collaboration between Efficiency Vermont and Rewiring America that basically is a Vermont-specific incentive calculator. So you can go in, I think you plug in your zip code and you basically get a sense of like how much you could get for a heat pump water heater, how much you could get for a heat pump, electric vehicle. So we'll have a snap there. One piece that's very, very cool about that tool is that it is designed so that it can be very easily added to other websites. So for example, if the town of Heinsberg wanted to basically lift it up and put it on their town website, that would mean that, you know, anyone going to Heinsberg for any purpose related to town planning would see it. So it's really designed to get the word out there, which is critical. As many of you guys probably saw, 62 million was awarded to Vermont on Monday for the Solar for All grant from the EPA. Large chunk of that meant for lower and moderate income Vermonters to be able to access solar. So all of that, if you recall, like a month ago, I think we had some presenters in terms of what the different incentives were that are out there. All of that is to say some of them are available now. Quite a few of them are still in the planning and implementation process. So for a lot of those Solar for All incentives, et cetera, you're looking more at like Q1 2025. But good to know about the incentive calculator and the other items. Hello.
Department.
Is it the department? Huh. Okay. So I will give a quick update from my committee regarding S305. So S305, sorry for those of you who heard this in the caucus a couple of Tuesdays ago, but S305 is a miscellaneous PUC bill. It's Representative Pat who's reporting on the floor, but I highlighted it because two of the items that were areas that this caucus had expressed interest in. One of them to dig into how we make sure that this energy transformation is as affordable as possible and as stable in terms of bills for Vermonters. We have a study in S305 called a Total Energy Cost Stabilization Study. So it's really to look at how much is, you know, Vermonters spending on driving to work, heating their home, powering up their home and their appliances and their gadgets, and putting that into the total energy picture. Because if what we're doing is saying, here, do a heat pump, we're going to see electricity bills increase, but you should see your oil or your propane bill. So how do you look at the total energy picture? So that's one piece that this caucus highlighted as an area of interest that is in S305. And then another item that we added into S305 is related to being able to advance thermal energy networks. So if you think about ground source community systems, or maybe, you know, taking waste heat from a district water system, systems like that, basically municipalities will be exempt from having to go before the PUC and get all their rates approval because a lot of municipalities already have like a water department or a sewer department. So the thinking here is as we see more housing develop, how do we do that in a way that upfront we're using the most efficient technology that might make sense for that project at that location. So those are two items from S305. Representative Rice is going to give an update as to the neonicotinoid bill, which is in the Senate.
Yeah, H706 is the next bill passed out of Senate Ag with a few changes. Passed out of Senate Appropriations, which makes sense because it doesn't have an appropriation. And is coming to the floor
Today.
now, yeah, today.
We don't pass it over.
Yeah.
Which we love to do.
Yeah, it's right. That was I was looking to you to see if you had any more
I think,
detailed information. It's on the count.
I don't know if we're gonna pass it over today or not.
Where are we at with this 2031?
2031 is in the bill,
Oh my God.
but just you.
So for folks who aren't living and breathing this, can you give some?
Yeah, so the
further
changes made in Senate Ag are, they pushed the date for the ban on treated seeds to 2031. It came out of the House at 2029, which is the timeline that New York is on. So the bill as it stands currently has pushed the timeline to 2 years beyond New York's ban. Didn't change the date for the other applications, so the non-treated seed parts of the restrictions on neonics. Added triggers to both sections of restrictions that say that if New York repeals their ban, our ban is also repealed. And then made some changes to, removed turf entirely. So no longer banning the use of neonics on golf courses, for instance.
Which that I have problems with.
And just the messenger. And I made some changes to the exemption process, the process that farmers would go through to receive an exemption from the agency. Made it look more like New York State's exemption waiver process, which I and many others are arguing is actually more burdensome for the farmers. We tried to create an exemption process that put the burden of the exemption and waiver on the agency, who has the staff to do such things, and not on the farmers. But currently, I think the language shifts a little bit more of that burden onto the farmers to apply for and receive their waivers. But we'll see what comes out of the Senate in its final when they pass the bill out, and we'll see what comes back to us.
And I would say I have heard that there is a possibility of an amendment on the floor related to, I think mainly the
date.
date, but there could be one that comes related to the golf course exemption. I don't know. So you've got two senators.
Thank you. Before we shift to the senators, Rep. Marucki is going to give a quick update. A couple of other bills that had been listed as priorities or policies of interest include S310, as well as the divestment bill. And if you don't mind giving a quick update on those two. Government operations, flooding, government response.
The big flood resiliency bill, that's we passed it out. On the floor, it's in a protest. Last citing of that. S42 is the divestment bill, which right from the start, the pension board didn't want it. And they pulled out all the stops, and bring back the former treasurer who spoke for an hour against it.
Oh,
And convinced enough people that it wasn't ready for prime. So we put it back on the wall.
Okay.
The Group Third Act has been essential inspiration behind that. They're they're going back to re-strategize. And my suggestion to them is they've got a lot of people. The way to convince the pension board is overwhelming numbers. That if they start hearing rank and file, that not only is this a good thing for the climate, but it's good for investments. It was just, we had people talking about how fossil fuels are no longer the great blue chip investment that they used to be. The return on investment is not what it used to be, and it's continuing to downtrend. But they pushed back that it would cost us too much money. They'd have to hire more staff. And none of that was really, I think, accurate. But yet it sold enough people on the committee to where the other thing that they shared, and that this got a lot of people, is that we shouldn't be making policies like this to force other people to do something. And what we do all the time.
It's kind of our MO.
Nonetheless,
Other people did something.
it didn't have the traction to get out of committee, and we'll have to come back next year,
Thanks.
try again.
Thank you for your work on this. As a senator who we passed it, I'm sad to hear this, but we'll be back.
Thank you. And then we have Senator Perchlik, who's here to give us an update on all things T-bill. You want to come over here so people can see you?
Okay,
Thank you for making it.
well, I don't have a presentation,
Yeah,
so
that's, it's verbal update.
we passed the T-bill. Sarah probably knows more than I do about it. I think the big thing that this group would care about is the infrastructure fee that we added. So starting this year, by January, DMV would start charging an $89 fee, or a fee equal to the registration. So if registration was to go up, this fee would go up for EV drivers. And all that fund would go to fund electric charging. The House had $1.7 million to go to electric charging infrastructure specifically for multifamily housing. And I think workplace charging. We did agree with that construct, but we agreed with the principle. So this is the way we are kind of getting that money, is through this fee to EV users. It's going to generate an estimated $900,000 the first year, and then 1.7 next year. It could only be a couple of years, which is some people's concern about having them start this, but we see it as a bridge to the miles-based use fee that the agency and the legislature has kind of agreed with, that's the process that we're following, or that's the path that we're on to charge all vehicles a fee based on the miles driven, whether they're gas or electric. So their proposal in the DMV Agency of Transportation's proposal was for those that have plug-in hybrids, they would charge half of the registration fee. So, or half of what their proposed fee was for electric vehicles, which was more like $200, $200 and something dollars, because that's about what the estimate is the average person pays in gas taxes a year. And so we didn't like that fee for the EV infrastructure fee, so we reduced it to $89 and $44.50 for plug-in hybrids. As soon as we go to a miles-based users fee, that $89 would go away because you'd be paying based on miles, but the plug-in hybrid would stay at the $44.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Because you're still buying gas, because I think, and this is part of the issue, we were not really sure exactly how the miles-based users fee would go in play and when. They're applying for a grant to fund the transition through a federal grant. They're just applying now. They have to get the grant, they have to get all that going. So they're saying it's going to take years. So we wanted to get this money for electric charging equipment because we see that as the biggest barrier. We have good incentives for folks to get into electric vehicles, but there's a concern about being able to charge, especially if you're in a multifamily housing building where you can't get, utility will give you a free charger, but you have nowhere to put it because you don't own the building. So we have money for infrastructure along the highway and well-traveled corridors, but not for this niche area. So we agreed with the House on that, but wanted to find the money, and also felt this is getting folks used to paying for the road usage fee. That's coming down the road. So I think that's a big thing. We also have a study in there, or planning kind of study about what the next step is on how we're gonna reach our climate goals as far as transportation. Now that we're not gonna do the TCI, we were all kind of counting on, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna join the Western Climate Initiative? Or are we gonna team up with New York's plan? That's a study that the House put in that we agreed with, that I think is an important with this caucus.
I think you've had all the big changes.
So the big change, yeah.
And the only other one that I think we talked about on the floor was the Senate did remove the e-bike money. And I know that that's a very important part of conversations we've had in this caucus. So did want to alert folks to that. Although the program is still running and will
Getting pretty
go,
low,
yeah,
but yeah.
it
not-
still has some juice in it, is my understanding.
And-
So,
Not enough.
Yeah, it's only like, it's down under $5,000,
oh,
so it's pretty low. So it's, but
It will run out
yeah, it's gonna run out
pretty quick.
soon. So, but are applying for a big grant that includes e-bike incentives, but that would be maybe by the fall, late fall. And I think they said $1.9 million
Oh,
is their
wow.
plan for that EPA grant for electric bike incentives. So there is that. The main reason we didn't agree with the House on that is to find money for Green Mountain Transit, basically our public transit system in Chittenden County and some of the surrounding areas. It was talking about cutting service pretty drastically, and that was a concern that we would help them out. We do have language in there that they have to start charging fees and they have to kind of right size and have a sustainable model, because there's been a concern that we keep giving them one-time money to close their budget gap. And that's not a sustainable model, that we just keep giving them one-time money because they come in and say, we're going to cut routes if you don't. We don't want to get into that always being their solution to just come and ask for money. But we do have in there supporting them with $1 million one-time funding to keep their operations going.
Questions?
Yep, I'm just, and this is going to show how little I know about chargers, but how do people pay for the electricity that they're using in let's say if it's a multi-apartment building? How,
Yeah, different people do away. Sometimes if you have a different meter, then it could hook it to your meter if you have your own electric bill. If you don't have electric bill, they might just put it as part of your condo fee or your rent.
oh, it's the same thing like.
just
Oh,
your own charge.
Or they
And
do
go
like a
in as
charge point where you have, there's extra cost to that because you got to have the credit card reader and you pay the vendor a fee.
Yeah.
So it just depends on building by building, how the landlord and the tenants.
Great, thank you.
I ask, I recall like my first year in house transportation, we had, the same conversation about GMT. There were some studies and there was a proposal to like have a different type of, fare box or whatnot. Like, so those studies weren't helpful in terms of figuring out a path forward.
I hate to say that a legislative study wasn't helpful.
They do have different fare boxes.
Yeah, they do. And, we had
They've got.
COVID and the whole fare free thing during COVID
Right.
came up. So I think we have those, and there was some language that the House had in there about studying this and other things that we did take out because we felt like there wasn't enough studies done on this. We just have to kind of figure out what we want to do and do it and not study it anymore. So it's, the answers are there,
Okay.
but they're tough decisions. It's kind of like
Right.
some other issues that we face.
Well, great work. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, one more question?
What do you see as being a long-term funding strategy for build out? Something I've become very interested in.
Yeah.
Since buying an EV and looking at multifamily.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right, and there's the issue that we had a bill about kind of trying to improve that from the tenant's point of view and working with the landlord, that it didn't go anywhere, but so I'm hoping we can maybe work on that legislation some more.
This is the right to charge.
Right to charge, yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
there's
for that ACCD grant
yeah,
program,
So the infrastructure charge that we're talking about would go into that to help fund that, so that if, as long as that fund is going, or that fee is happening for the next 2 or 3 years, that would go in there, so that could be $1.7 million a year. There's the federal money, but that's not focused on there, but if there might be other opportunities to kind of move money around to support that sector. And I'm also just hoping as the sector grows out, that there's a business model for businesses to want to put chargers in there, or just kind of make it to where there's it's in the landlord's interest, or that there's a business interest to have more of them out there, even in the heart of it.
And I just want to say, we should thank Senator Perchlik, because you are in a difficult committee on some of these topics. So we really do appreciate you being kind of the voice on these topics. And I know it's not always easy when we've got a makeup of a committee that hard to get consensus on. So thank you for advocating. Where you- diplomatic way to put it. There's some differing perspectives on our future.
And we'll have a new committee.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Really appreciate you making the time as well. So then we have an update on everything we've sent to you.
Yeah, so I'd say there's two main bills that you would be interested in. I'm not going to talk a lot about the Housing Act 250 bill, because we are so steeped in it right now that it's not actually clear what's going to be coming out of it. Similar to if I had asked you what's happening with the bill halfway through your floor debate, that's kind of where we are right now. It's not clear what we're deciding on. I'd say that the process, though, is that the Senate Economic Development, the chair of that committee has made some recommendations through a proposal that is being considered now by Senate Natural Resources. Where those recommendations land, we will then have a volley back to them on our suggestions and what we can confirm that we agree with. And then ideally, there will be a joint amendment coming from Senate Economic Development and Senate Natural Resources that comes to consensus on the floor. That's the goal, is that we don't necessarily have, taking lessons from perhaps the House floor, an open debate on this without having two committees of jurisdiction review it, I think is our goal. And we're getting there. We're slowly but surely getting there. This is a hot topic. People have vastly different opinions just based on where you live. So, yeah, I'm happy to, yeah.
Hello. I was just curious, since things are moving so quickly and drafts are changing and other conversations, when would we know when it's in or not, if there's something that we're watching for that bill?
That is a phenomenal question.
Oh, wow, thank
That is a really,
Okay.
and in fact, I basically asked that question today in committee because it was not clear kind of where we are in the process.
Phenomenal question, but it was hers.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know. So I was like, so it's strange. It's strange right now. So similar to if you've experienced the last year of a biennium before, I called it earlier. Yeah, we're like in Toontown mode, which is things move very quickly and it's not clear where they're coming from and it's not clear what's going to happen with them if a decision has been made. So I would say, check out the Senate Natural Resources most recent. Now, it's not even a draft of the bill. It's a proposal that has been unedited that is on our committee wall. Like that's where we're at. We don't even have a draft. Tomorrow morning, we will have an updated draft on the bill. So I would say take a look there. Technically, Senate Economic Development Finance has has it right now. So you could also look on Finance, but it's even difficult for members of the committees to be tracking at this point. So if you have a specific point and you say,
But what
yeah,
bill number is it?
it's 687, and it's also 311 is the bill that we took sections out of. So if there are specific items that you're like, where is that? Just ask, because there's a likely chance that it is somewhere in conversation.
Yeah.
Is
no,
there
for sure.
is there a specific?
I could check in with the chair of the Economic Development Committee again and see if that lands.
Yes.
And that chair has an amendment.
Right, so I think it might,
Finance.
it hopefully is going into that.
Yeah. I would say Senator Rom Hinsdale is a great person to talk to if you've got housing specific things that are not land
Yeah, it has
use.
nothing to do with that.
Yeah. Yeah, we're kind of taking the land
Right.
use section. If you want to talk land use, talk to Senator Bray. If you want to talk maybe housing or exemptions, or money, I would say probably talk to Senator.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah, it's even confusing for us. Okay, so then the other bill is the renewable energy standard, which is, I thought was going to be the really crazy one this year, but we concurred. We thought the House, we said, way to go, House. We agree, and we got no changes.
Oh.
That we're surprised. Now you're surprised. But that does, I think a point we even discussed openly in this caucus was that there were some changes.
Was that we
in
wanted
House-
some changes.
Wanted some changes. You may have wanted.
Need a group net metering.
That would be specifically the one, yes. We have been, and I'm looking right at the advocate. We have been assured that the conversation around group net metering, or as some refer to community solar, virtual net metering, that conversation is not dead. We certainly will make sure, and the advocates have confirmed for me, that they will make sure that that conversation continues for the next year with utilities. But we had, I think, as the House committee experienced, lots of sensitivities around even slight changes that we did not want to break the compromise that had already been done on your side. So we move forward with the res as it is, and we are anticipating a veto. So I would just say if you had concerns and you were saying, I'm going to wait till the Senate fixes it, I apologize, but we are going to need your votes on this. We really are going to need your votes on this. And if we talk about a veto override that matters for this caucus, it's this bill, in my opinion. And I know that I personally was hoping to vote no, as some others did in their committee, and then vote yes on the floor. But that is not how it's sugared off. So I respect the concerns that people have raised, and I hope that we can all kind of hold our nose if that's how you feel about it, and vote yes when it comes to an override, because
The votes on your side?
I believe we do.
Okay.
Um,
Good.
we haven't officially counted anything yet, but I believe we do. And so it would be great to be able to move something forward. And we concurred largely because we did not feel we had time to make any of the necessary changes without having us make a veto override happen, that it be included in a summer session or next year. We know that when you go home, that you will be lobbied hard to not support certain overrides. And we felt that the risk of that reality was so great that we would lose people. So we would like to see a veto override. I think folks who are proponents of this bill happen before the session ends, in that regard. I don't know if that's a.
Well, it's interesting, particularly with Monday's announcement. I mean, at this point, if Vermont is getting many, many millions of dollars for essentially community solar, then there has to be a path forward for community solar. So,
Yeah.
I agree. So,
Okay.
any other updates, comments, questions? Otherwise, we'll shift over to having Joey Miller do a quick screen share and just incentive calculator walkthrough so that you guys can bring that back. Maybe even put it on your own, websites.
Can I just briefly mention next Friday's event?
Oh, yeah.
Right, that.
Next Friday, May 3rd, at the State House will be the Day of Climate Resilience, and it will feature oppressor demonstrations involving water tables on flood mitigation and flood impacts, an art gallery, photo gallery walkthrough of our changing climate and more. So please show up, and it should be really interesting.
Shout out to Jordan.
Yeah,
Yep.
thank you.
And we should note, another thing that potentially will come up is we're starting to talk through a possible tour. If you are familiar with the Climate Solutions Caucus's multiple tours over the years in the off session, we like to go visit people in their towns, and we're going to try to do that again this summer through the election cycle. So think a little bit about that. If you immediately are excited about that, let us know. We'd love to tailor it to a community that has a strong rep that you want to be out there. So,
And maybe one thing you can highlight on your tour is the many thousands of dollars that people
can potentially be saving. Was there? Are you raising your hand?
I'm sorry, did you want to ruin that transition or?
So appreciate a nice little segue, but I wanted to, and I came in late, so I don't know if you talked at all about S 259.
Oh, 259.
That would be great for you to do a quick update.
Yeah, I just want to say as, and you know, the energy environment.
It's environment.
Can say more, but it visited our committee and I was just encouraged because not only did we, you know, vote favorably, there was a lot of excitement about it. And it seems like a really solidly legal approach.
Climate super fun.
The wildlife people is.
There, right? It's getting, yeah. A mechanism for fossil fuel extractors to pay for the damage they did between 1995 and 2024. And it will take years and years to figure out, but there was a lot of excitement in the Judiciary Committee for this as a legal approach, a legal framework. It was fun.
Yeah.
We don't usually get these kinds of bills. This is fun.
So that's good. And if you're investing in fossil fuels, that might be a reason not to invest. I'm just throwing that out there.
Before we jump into this, just as a follow-up with Representative Williams' comment about resilience and the press event next Friday, just know that the Senate is doing a fantastic job with S213, which is a climate resilience, flood resilience bill, looking at the functions that wetlands, river corridors, floodplains provide and dam safety issues. It's comprehensive, it's necessary. It's our first line of defense for these changes that we are seeing, the impacts now with respect to flooding, and is very much related to the press event coming up. I wanted to highlight that because I know it's making its rounds through the House side, to various committees. It's coming to appropriations as early as I think tomorrow. And I just wanted to also acknowledge the great work of the Senate in really on that bill.
Great update. Thank you, everybody. What a team effort. Okay, on to Joey Miller showing you a quick
Yes,
flyby.
just because we all want a cleaner, healthier, more affordable future. Want to highlight this new calculator is what we're calling it. It's Project Rewiring America and Efficiency Vermont. Representative Rice sent you the link itself, but if you're interested or your constituents are interested, if you're getting out there in the community, there are thousands and thousands of dollars for clean energy investments that are on the table right now. This tool will enable you to go through and click, and depending on what you're interested in, your constituent is interested in doing, it is tailored for your unique situation. So you can enter in your zip code, what you're interested in, your household income. Say your household is $60,000 for 3 people, which would be more of a low income. You own your home. You are married, filing jointly. You can sort of essentially calculate all and see all the different incentives, not only the Inflation Reduction Act incentives, which this calculator was originally tailored for, but Rewiring America worked with Efficiency Vermont. So now all state and utility incentives show up in this tool. So you can see here, for example, look at, for example, electrical or EVs. Look at you can save up to 100% of the cost of an EV charger. 100% of the cost. There's massive incentives out there. So this just enables you to see in one location the suite of investments or sort of financial support that could be available to you. So I just wanted to make sure you can go in and sort of toggle around yourself for your situation, or more so your constituent situation, because I think most Vermonters want to get off of fossil fuels. They're high priced, they're volatile, they're dirty, and there are more cleaner, more efficient, cost-effective solutions available. And there's massive amounts of money to help you do that. And this tool is really just intended to sort of demonstrate and provide people an easy portal into the kinds of like stackable incentives. So you can put incentive on top of incentive and cut down the cost, for example, of an electric vehicle so that it is affordable and potentially even far more cost competitive than an internal combustion engine. So we sent this around, there's a QR code on it. But just as you are out there and you're hearing about affordability, there's tons of money saving opportunities available for people.
So do they just go to rewiringamerica.org?
Yeah, you can just link to this QR code.
No, but I put it on Facebook, on not Facebook, on Front Porch Forum. I'm not.
There's a link in your reminder email for the meeting today. that
Oh, okay.
Takes you to the calculator and I'll send it out again.
I save $840 on a heat pump clothes dryer, $8,000 on a heat pump right there.
Yeah.
Nice.
I just want to, are they putting out a press release?
They did.
Anything.
They did.
In various newspapers around
Yep.
the state, and everything, okay.
Wow.
So
Is it-
Drive Electric is a really amazing website. So will this be embedded in the website?
Thank you, Representative Copy, for that question. I hope it's embedded on Drive Electric's website. It can be embedded on any website. I went to Caucus the other night. They're starting or restarting an energy committee there. Any municipality can embed this on their website. There's just a very, cute little link or image that then you can link to, and your constituents and your municipality can toggle on that. And
Only because Drive Electric also, like, you can shop for cars and see it there. So I'm just curious. And I know that they also included incentives on it, and it's a complicated page.
Yeah.
It was clunky. So
I'll ask the Drive Electric team, but I know as of today, it's on the Efficiency Vermont homepage.
Good. And I think we have one more question from Rep. Campbell.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna ask about the embedding. So where is that on this website?
I can send you, I'll actually send it to Representative Rice.
Yeah.
There are instructions
Yeah,
that
okay, good. That's
you and your municipality, anyone can embed it on
Yeah.
their website. Coming to a
You know how
town
to
near you,
embed.
Did you send the Efficiency Vermont link or the
whatever Efficiency Vermont.
Efficiency Vermont link at the bottom has that.
Yeah, I'll send that to Representative
But
Rice.
don't worry, I'll send the instructions right to your inbox.
Again.
Again.
On that note, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Scan this, Mike, if you want me to send it to you to include.
Hi.
I've got a blurb. just-
Well, we have meeting for.
That's